Umhlanga or Reed Dance Ceremony, is an annual Swazi event that takes place at the end of August or at the beginning of September. In Eswatini, tens of thousands of unmarried and childless Swazi girls and women travel from the various chiefdoms to the Lujajini royal village to participate in the 8-day event. The young, unmarried girls were placed in female age regiments. Girls who had fallen pregnant outside wedlock had their families find a cow. Umhlanga was created in the 1940s Eswatini under the rule of Sobhuza and is an adaptation of the much older Umkwasho ceremony. The reed dance continues to be practiced today in Eswatini. In South Africa, the reed dance was introduced in 1991 by Goodwill Zwelithini, the former king of the Zulus. The dance in South Africa takes place in Ngoma, a royal kraal of the Zulu king. In South Africa, the ceremony is known as Umkhosi Womaitlenga and takes place every year in September at the Inyokani Royal Palace in Ngoma Inyokani, KwaZulu-Natal. The girls come from all parts of Zululand, and in recent years there are also smaller groups from Eswatini, as well as more distant places such as Botswana and Pondoland. All girls are required to undergo a virginity test before they are allowed to participate in a royal dance. In recent years the testing practice has been met with some opposition. The girls wear traditional attire, including beadwork, izajaj, izankilaba, and imincha that show their bottoms. They also wear anklets, bracelets, necklaces, and colorful sashes. Each sash has appendages of a different color, which denote whether or not the girl is betrothed. As part of the ceremony, the young women dance bare-breasted for their king, and each maiden carries a long reed, which is then deposited as they approach the king. The girls take care to choose only the longest and strongest reeds, and then carry them towering above their heads in a slow procession up the hill to Inyokani Palace. The procession is led by the chief Zulu princess, who takes a prominent role throughout the festival. If the reed should break before the girl reaches that point, it is considered a sign that the girl has already been sexually active. The ceremony was reintroduced by King Goodwill Zwelithini in 1991, as a means to encourage young Zulu girls to delay sexual activity until marriage, and thus limit the possibility of HIV transmission. In 2007, about 30,000 girls took part in the event. The organizers of the ceremony have occasionally enforced strict rules on photographers, as some of them have been accused of publishing pictures of the rites on pornographic websites. In past years, the event was attended by former President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, himself a Zulu, and former Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Zwelinkays. In the KwaZulu-Natal region, thousands of bare-breasted maidens perform the reed dance in front of the monarch to honor their beauty and virginity. They sometimes surround the king during some important broadcast, as a sign of dignity and virtue. The tradition was resurrected in 1984 by the late Zulu king Goodwill Zwelithini. Eswatini. In Eswatini, girls begin the rite by gathering at the Queen Mother's royal village, which currently is Lujajini Royal Village. After arriving at the Queen Mother's royal residence, the women disperse the following night to surrounding areas and cut tall reeds. The following night, they bundle the reeds together and bring them back to the Queen Mother to be used in repairing holes in the reed windscreen surrounding the royal village. After a day of rest and washing, the women prepare their traditional costumes consisting of a bead necklace, rattling anklets made from cocoons, a sash, and skirt. Many of them carry the bush knives, which they had earlier used to cut the reeds, as symbols of their virginity. The women sing and dance as they parade in front of the royal family as well as a crowd of dignitaries, spectators, and tourists. After the parade, groups from select villages take to the center of the field and put on a special performance for the crowd. The king's many daughters and royal princesses also participate in the reed dance ceremony and are distinguished by the crown of red feathers they wear in their hair. The present form of the reed dance developed in the 1940s from the Umkwasho custom, where young girls were placed in age regiments to ensure their virginity. Once they had reached marriageable age, they would perform labor for the Queen Mother followed by dancing and a feast. The official purpose of the annual ceremony is to preserve the women's chastity, provide tribute labor for the Queen Mother, and produce solidarity among the women through working together. Nudity controversy. The Reed dance videos were once classified as age-restricted content by YouTube, which angered the users who had uploaded them. This included Lazid Lamini, the head of TV Yabantu, an online video production company that aims to produce content that protects, preserves, and restores African values. Working with more than 200 cultural groupings across the country and in neighboring Eswatini, Dlamini organized a series of protests against Google to force them to rethink their position. YouTube apologized, and allowed the showing of genuine African traditional videos. According to a representative for the company, they lifted the restriction, as it is not Google's policy to restrict nudity in such instances where it is culturally or traditionally appropriate. Preparations. The date of the ceremony is scheduled by looking at the phases of the moon. Once the moon reaches full stage, the ceremony commences. Places where the reed is located are visited to check if it is ready for cutting and its availability. Preparations also include finding places where the young girls will sleep, health meals, organizing transport to carry them from their respective constituencies to the royal kraal. From constituency level, the constituency chooses 4 trustworthy males who will lead the young group of girls from that constituency. If an emergency situation arises, 2 of the men who are accompanying these girls will head back home to report the situation. From early days the girls start practicing traditional songs and traditional dances. At home, a girl will gather all the traditional attire needed for the ceremony. Modern changes. In earlier times, the girls used to sleep outside in open space, today they sleep in tents. Today they are also ferried by lorries instead of walking long distances carrying the reed. Microphones are used to start songs and to announce which song will be sung. The internet, social media, radio stations, and television channels are now used to announce the date in which the ceremony will commence. Purpose: the Umhlanga ceremony is a public holiday in Eswatini and serves multiple purposes, including preserving the girls' chastity, providing labor to the Queen Mother, and promoting solidarity and cultural pride. Participants: it's an event for unmarried and childless Swazi girls and women. Duration: the ceremony spans 8 days. Location: it takes place at the Lujajini Royal Village, the Queen Mother's residence. Activities: the core activities include cutting reeds, presenting them to the Queen Mother, and dancing. Cultural significance: the ceremony is a significant part of Swazi culture, celebrating womanhood, unity, and heritage. Public holiday: during the reed dance, schools and most businesses in Eswatini are closed. Modern adaptation: while rooted in older traditions, the formalized reed dance ceremony was established in the 1940s. Despite the changes wrought by the money economy, by a high degree of literacy and basic education, and by steadily improving living standards and changing lifestyles, tradition continues to play an important role in Swazi society, both at the national ceremonial level and in day-to-day personal contacts. This reflects the unity of the Swazi as one nation under a traditional leader and especially their reverence for the struggle of King Sobhuza II over the 61 years of his reign to regain their independence. The 2 main cultural events are the Nkwala in December and the Umhlanga in August. The Nkwala is sometimes described as a first fruit ceremony, but, spread over 6 days, it is a much more complex ritual of renewing and strengthening the kingship and the nation, with songs and dances used only on this occasion. The Umhlanga, or reed dance, brings together the unmarried girls and young women of the country to cut reeds for the annual repairs to the windbreaks of the Queen Mother's village. It lasts for 5 days. It is also symbolic of the unity of the nation and of its perpetuation through the massed ranks of young women. Both ceremonies are held at the national capital of the Queen Mother. Other ceremonies are associated with the communal weeding and harvesting of the king's fields, and those of the chiefs, and with customary marriages. Most ceremonies are accompanied by traditional music, songs, and dancing. Musical instruments are simple in design: a kudu horn, impalampala, used for hunting or herding cattle, a calabash attached to a bow, umakwayana, for love songs, the reed flute, played by small boys while herding, and rattles made of seed pods attached to the wrists and ankles. However, more typical of the homestead nowadays are the radio and record and tape players. This is Eswatini's, Swaziland's, best known cultural event, and has a more open feel than the Inkwala. In this 8-day ceremony, young girls cut reeds, present them to the Queen Mother, Indlovukeze, ostensibly to repair the windbreak around her royal residence, and then dance in celebration. Up to 40,000 girls take part, dressed up in brightly colored attire, making it one of the biggest and most spectacular cultural events in Africa. The proper festivities kick off on day 6, when dancing gets underway in the afternoon. Each group drops their reeds outside the Queen Mother's quarters, then moves to the main arena, where they dance and sing their songs. The dancing continues on day 7, when the king is present. This is the main day that most visitors attend. Each regiment dances before him in turn. Little can prepare you for the sheer scale of the pageantry, with column upon column of girls advancing like vast ululating centipedes across the parade grounds of Lujajini, each dissolving in turn into the pulsating mass of bodies around the royal kraal. Up close, it's an almost overwhelming immersion in noise and color, as the girls stamp, sing, and sway in step, anklets rattling, naked flesh and dazzling costume blurring into a living, chanting kaleidoscope. The warrior escorts, adorned with cowtails and clutching knobstick and shield, are sternly intent on their duties and seem contemptuous of tourists, but the girls are all smiles. It's Eswatini's biggest holiday and, after days of tramping the hillsides, cutting reeds, and camping out, they're determined to party. Today the Umhlanga is as well attended as ever. Indeed, cultural historians marvel at how its ever-increasing popularity in Eswatini defies the apparent decline of traditional culture elsewhere. It offers the visitor a unique experience. There is not too much in the way of visitor arrangements, a special grandstand accommodates visiting dignitaries, but simply turn up at Lujajini and follow the crowds. Day 7 is the main day. Police will direct you where to go, and where to park. The event takes place in the Lobamba area, next to the Eswatini Valley, around the last week of August/first week of September, though specific dates are only officially confirmed a matter of weeks beforehand. Reed Dance Schedule. Day 1, this is the first day of registration. The girls gather at the Queen Mother's royal village. Today this is at Lujajini, in Sobhuza's time it was at Lobamba. They come in groups from the 200 or so chiefdoms and are registered for security. Men, usually 4, supervise them, appointed chiefs. They sleep in the huts of relatives in the village or in classrooms of nearby schools. This is a very exciting time for the maidens. Day 2, the girls are separated into 2 groups, the older, about 14 to 22 years, and the younger, about 8 to 13 years. In the afternoon, they march to the reed beds with their supervisors. The older girls often march about 30 kilometers, while the younger girls march about 10 kilometers. If the older girls are sent further, government will provide trucks for their transport. Day 3, the girls cut their reeds, usually about 10 to 20, using long knives. Each girl ties her reeds into a bundle. Nowadays they use strips of plastic for the tying, but those mindful of tradition will still cut grass and plait it into rope. Day 4, in the afternoon, the girls set off to return to the Queen Mother's village, carrying their bundles of reeds. Again they return at night. This is done to show they traveled a long way. Day 5, a day of rest where the girls make final preparations to their hair and dancing costumes. After all that walking, who doesn't deserve a little pampering? Day 6, first day of dancing, from about 3 to 5 in the afternoon. The girls drop their reeds outside the Queen Mother's quarters. They move to the arena and dance, keeping their groups and each group singing different songs at the same time. Day 7, second and last day of dancing. His Majesty the King will be present. This is the Umhlanga main day and is on Monday, September 2 in 2024. Day 8 King commands that a number of cattle, perhaps 20-25, be slaughtered for the girls. They receive pieces of meat and go home. Thank you for watching this video.